Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening everyone. We are Group 5 and we will discuss about the Module 10 which entitled Kant and Rights Theories. For the introduction, this module entitled Kant and Rights Theories will discuss Kantian theory, otherwise known as deontological theory that focuses on duty as the primary factor for determining if an action is good or not. In this theory, two tests will have to be passed: the universality test and the treatment of humans as an end, not as means. So, malalaman po natin dito kung ano nga po ba itong categorical imperative or Kantian ethics or deontological theory at ano nga po ba itong dalawang test na kailangan nating ipasa. And for the objectives in this module, you will be able to first understand Kantian theory, second, analyze ethical situations using Kantian theory, and the third one is to differentiate legal rights from moral rights. But before anything else, alamin po muna natin kung kanino nga po bang idea itong Kantian ethics na ito.
Immanuel Kant, greatly influenced by David Hume, known for his categorical imperative inspiration for German idealism. Birth, April 22, 1724. Death, February 12, 1804. Studied theology at University of Königsberg. His parents were Anne Regina Reuter and Johannes Georg Kant, a harness maker.
Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804. He is a German Lutheran theologian and philosopher famous as the most influential in the Age of Enlightenment in Western philosophy. He has three known books: Critique of Pure Reason, Critique of Practical Reason, and Critique of the Power of Judgment. He is a renowned student, writer, and professor in mathematics, physics, and metaphysics at the University of Königsberg. Kant lives during the European cultural revolutions of Enlightenment or Renaissance in the 18th century. He followed his predecessors, Voltaire and David Hume, in trying to replace religious traditions, superstitions, and monarchy with rationalism through his three critiques on reason. Rationalism aims to provide answers to metaphysical and other questions through the power of reason alone. This influenced German idealism and analytic philosophy. Immanuel Kant was a very important German philosopher who lived during a time of big changes in Europe, or the Enlightenment. He wrote three famous books: Exploring Reason, Critique of Pure Reason, Critique of Practical Reason, and Critique of the Power of Judgment. And he was a professor of math, physics, and philosophy, and he tried to use reason to explain things that were usually explained by religion or tradition. His ideas were very influential and shaped later philosophical thinking.
Kantianism or Kantian ethics is deontological theory that emphasizes morality based on duty, reason, moral principle, moral obligation, and motive or intention. It rejects consequences as the basis of morality. Kantian ethical framework is considered as a moral universalism or moral absolutism and moral formalism. So, Kantianism is a deontological theory. So, punta po tayo sa deontology. So, deon comes from the Greek word duty na sinasabi po na we should always follow a set of rules or set of moral principles no matter what the situation is or kahit na ano pa yung maging outcome ng certain action na yon. At sinasabi din po dyan na it rejects consequences as the basis of morality. So, Kant ethics argue na hindi dapat pinagbabasehan ng consequences sa morality, but it should be based on reason, duty, and moral rules. And it also believes na outcome can determine morality. Dahil morality naman po is not about the result, it's about the intention o yung motibo po natin sa ginawa nating action. So, proceed na po tayo dito sa duty principle. Duty principle. Humans are motivated by the duty to act morally or rationally instead of emotionally or without reason. Kant argues that duty or moral obligation is the very nature of the pure human reason. This means that as rational agents, people can grasp the moral principles and act out of his principles without the aid of experiences and consideration of the consequences. So, dito po sa duty principle, it's a sense of responsibility for us, the agents, to act morally o gawin o paggawa natin ng tama kahit na mahirap at act rationally pag gawa naman natin ng logical decision in a certain circumstances. To act from duty is to follow the moral law. Yung iba nating actions are right or wrong themselves regardless of its consequences. And it's our duty po na gawin yung tamang action at iwasan yung mga maling actions. For Kant po kasi, as humans, he considered us or see us as rational beings which possess reason thought. It is the ability po that allows people to follow their duty and act towards moral law. And speaking of moral law, it's a universalized law. Pangkalahatan na batas na kailangan nating sundin. And as humans, as rational beings, we have a natural moral compass that includes po na our actions are not dependent sa personal na experiences natin and our actions are not influenced by consequences. Example po natin dito obligasyon nating mga tao na magsabi o sabihin ang totoo. Even if sa pagsasabi natin ng totoo ay pwedeng magkaroon ng hindi magandang result. And for instance, during test or examination, nakita mo yung isa mong kaklase na nag-cheat. You have two options. Sabihin sa teacher yung totoo na nangdadayo siya o magsinungaling at manahimik na lang kasi baka bumagsak pa siya sa subject na yun at paya pa siya sa klase. But in this case, duty principle, telling the truth is always right regardless sa kung ano mang consequences. And telling a lie is always wrong. At duty natin na palagi tayong magsabi ng totoo at iwasan ang pagsisinungaling. So, in this principle, we should always consider first which action is right and wrong before making any moral decision. If the action is right, we have the duty to do it. And if mali naman, then we also have the duty to act accordingly.
Goodwill. Kant's concept of goodwill is the idea that the only true good is having the right intention to do what is morally right. It's based on our ability to make free choice guided by reason, not by personal desire. Goodwill is the foundation of morality.
Goodwill is good by virtue of being an end in itself or as means to only one end, which is good. It is then bad if the will is means to another end or ends another than itself. The human reason produces a will that is universally good in it and absolutely good. Goodwill is the only true. Kant believed that only a good will, the intention to do what's right, is truly good. Everything else, like intelligence or happiness, can be used for bad purposes. Goodwill is a free and rational. A goodwill is freely choosing to do what's morally right, guided by reason. This is an absolute command of reason.
As universalists, the reason has only one end or good, which could be found in the will, reason, and person. The good is found in all activities or instances and not only in some instances. Thus, there should be no disparity between intention and act. Intention and action should be one or good and they justify the end. So, dito naman po sa universalist or sa universal, one should act only according to maxims that could be willed as universal law without contradiction. Example po agad tayo dito, yung honesty. Honesty is universalized law. At itong honesty na to is the ultimate good, yung good na sinasabi na it should guide all our actions and decisions. Itong good na to o honesty ay makikita o mahanap natin sa will, reason at doon sa person. sa will. The will of the person is to always tell the truth regardless sa situation. And the reason dictates that the honesty is important sa pag-build natin ng trust, respect, and strong relationship with others. Siyempre, and as a person of integrity, pinapahalagan natin po itong honesty na to as a fundamental aspect ng pagkatao natin. And being honest is always there. Makikita natin ito sa lahat ng instances or situations because it's the universalized law. Dito naman po sa sinasabi dito na no disparity between intention and action, kasi po in instance, tinatanong ng mama mo kung sino yung kumuha ng pera niya na naiwan sa sala. At nakita mo yung kumuha which is yung kapatid mo. Then sinabi mo sa mama mo kung sino yung nakita mo na kumuha. Your intention is to be honest, na naka-align sa naging action mo, which is telling the truth to your mother. Your intention and yung action mo is one that justify the end, which is to uphold honesty.
Absolutists can't believe that the reason is always good and does not allow for exception. An action must reflect a true intention to be moral. He used two main tests, the categorical imperative, which check if an action can be universally applied, and the idea of treating people as end in themselves, meaning you should respect others' dignity and not use them merely as mean to an end.
Categorical imperative first test. Kant's goodwill, which is universally and absolutely good, can be considered also as the one and the same categorical imperative. It is the consistency of intention and the act. Goodwill and the categorical imperative can't believe a goodwill, meaning having good intentions, is the only thing truly good. The categorical imperative is a way to determine if your actions come from a goodwill or your intentions and actions consistent. The categorical imperative relies on reason. It encourages you to think rationally about whether your actions could be a standard for everyone.
This principle is the first test if morality comes from pure intention and an objective judgment supported by rationality alone. What are right or good are right or good, and what is wrong or bad is wrong or bad. This is maxim or formal command to be categorically or unconditionally followed in order to be moral. Making a right action, it could become a universal law to be acceptable and followed by all. This test is in the or under categorical imperative, and it states na yung moral judgment natin is nakabase lamang sa reason. This test is to determine po if our actions are moral. Example po para mas maintindihan. Doon tayo ulit sa pagsasabi ng totoo. Just simply ask yourself, sa pagsasabi mo ba ng totoo ay maganda yung motibo mo? Is your judgment objective? Siyempre, oo, kapag sinabi mo yung totoo kahit na mahirap ang sitwasyon na meron ka o nandun ka. Kasi you're basing your judgment in reason and you're being rational, na pinag-iisipan yung action at hindi pinagbabasehan yung emotion na meron tayo. What is right and what is wrong is wrong. It's absolute. Ang pagrespeto sa kapwa ay tama, ang pagnanakaw ay mali. Ito po yung moral maxim natin na it states na always act according to principles that can be universally applied. Kahit na po sabihin natin na gusto lang naman natin gumawa ng maganda o yung intention o motibo naman natin ay mabuti, ang kaso yung way o paraan natin ay mali, masasabi po natin itong mali pa rin. Example po dun sa pagsinungaling. May nakakita na parent na nag-cutting class yung iba mong classmates, but as a friend na ayaw mapahamak yung mga kaibigan mo, you decided na pagtakpan sila at magsabi ng hindi totoo. Your intention lang naman is para hindi sila mapahamak, ma-detention o mapagalitan, pero yung way o ng pagtulong mo sa kanila ay mali, which is yung pagsasabi ng hindi totoo, pagsisinungaling. So, kung magsisinungaling tayo para rin lang naman sa ikabubuti ng iba, pero yung masama dun, lying is wrong. As I said po kaganina, we should always act sa kung ano man ang gusto natin gawin ng lahat na tama. If magsisinungaling tayo Para sa iba, gusto mo ba itong maging kabilang sa universalized law? Lahat ng tao ayaw mapagsinungalingan. And that's the point. Kung lahat ay magsisinungaling, mawawalan ng silbi ang pagsasabi ng totoo. So basically, we should always act rationally the way you want others to do and act also. And this moral principle are universal. Ito po ay universal and absolute. Ito po yung guide natin sa kung ano ang tama at mali.
Categorical imperative is a way to test if an action is right. It asks you to consider if that action could be a rule everyone could follow. If everyone could accept it as a true rule, then it's good. If not, then it's wrong. It's about making sure our action can be applied to everywhere, anywhere.
Categorical imperative simply believes in his reason as he may ask some form of question such as, if you do that, do you think everybody will like it? Could that action be possibly made as everybody's standard? Is your action universalizable? As I said po kanina, if magsisinungaling ba kayo, tayo, gusto mo bang maging universalized law yung pagsisinungaling? Kasi kung magiging universal law ang lying, which means worthless na ang pagsasabi ng totoo. Before we do things like, example, before tayo magsinungaling sa kapwa, isipin po muna natin kung if magsisinungaling tayo, gusto mo bang gawin din ito ng lahat? Yung pagsisinungaling mo ba na gagawin ay naka-align o sumusunod sa moral law na meron tayo? And last question, if nagsisinungaling ka, gusto mo bang gawin din ito ng iba sa'yo? Syempre hindi, kasi sino naman ang gustong mapagsinungalingan ng kapwa natin, di ba? So, we must think first what our actions or decisions might cause and affect not only to others but also sa sarili po natin. So next, but categorical imperative is neither feeling nor inclination. Feelings are what push persons to choose particular option or decision they tend to favor. However, a categorical imperative or duty is doing what persons ought to do despite opposing feelings. So this is about the categorical imperative or our duty versus our feelings. Yung inclination po na sinasabi dito ay yung personal desires natin or yung natural urge ng isang tao to act or feel things in particular way, o kaya yung disposition of mind natin or what the persons prefer. As it says po dyan na feelings influence our choices, yung mga decisions natin are based on our emotion and somehow it can be biased at paiba-iba depende sa emotions na mayroon tayo. But as it says din po dyan na categorical imperative is neither feelings nor inclination, our actions are not based on emotions. At nakabase po ito sa reason and moral principle na meron po tayo. And yung moral duty is always applies regardless of our emotions. For Kant po kasi, he considered feelings or emotions as hindrance or sagabal sa paggawa natin ng ethical act or decisions. So, for instance, may gustong-gusto kang laruan na kalalabas lang pero wala kang pambili kasi masyadong mahal. Then, nakita mo na meron yung laruan na yun, yung classmate mo. You want to steal that toy because that's what you really like, that's you really want, and that's what you desire to have. Then, for a moment, hindi mo alam kung pinaglalaraan ka or is it a sign na pinagbibigyan ka ni tadhana kasi you've given a chance na makuha yung laruan. But, as a rational being and we have the duty that we need to always follow the universally rule, which is to do good and avoid evil, hindi mo yun nanakawin kasi stealing is wrong and it's our duty to avoid stealing. Itong categorical imperative or duty na ito ay yung mga moral laws na kailangan natin laging gawin because it is the right thing to do even if it's against our own feelings.
Person as an in themselves second test. The person as an in themselves principle means that we should treat people with respect and dignity. just like what we want to be treated. It's familiar to Golden Rule. Treat others as you should like them to treat you. These tests remind us that everyone deserves to be valued for who they are, not just used for our own purpose.
But to consider persons only as means to achieving other goals or one's personal interest rather than being good is wrong. Rationality is fundamentality, objective, or does not promote personal interest and have only one ultimate goal, to be moral. To be moral is the function of practical reason to allow humans to apply general principles to particular instances of actions. This means that humans should engage in moral reasoning as a way of determining one's moral duty. They should discover through reasons alone what is the right action to do. They should apply a moral principle such as the categorical imperative, goodwill, and persons as end in themselves. It's wrong to use people merely as tools to achieve your goals. People should be treated as valuable in themselves. Kant believed true rationality isn't about self-interest. Its ultimate goal is to be moral. Reason should guide us to act morally. We should determine our moral duty reasons or moral duty through reason. By applying principles like the categorical imperative, goodwill, and treating people as ends in themselves, we discover the right action.
Dito na po tayo sa end lawmaker principle. So, this is the third and final formulation of the categorical imperative of Immanuel Kant. So, act as if you were, through your maxims, a lawmaker of kingdom of ends. So, ito po yung na just simply imagine a community kung saan lahat ng tao sinusunod nila yung mga moral laws na they have created for themselves at para rin sa iba, wherein you are one of the lawmaker na gumagawa ng moral rules that can apply to everyone, including yourself. It's a universal moral laws, a community wherein everyone respect each other's autonomy and every decisions are made with reason and fairness. And syempre, as a lawmaker, kailangan yung magagawa mong moral principles mabe-benefits ang lahat. It can also apply equally to each individual without exception and bias. And as a lawmaker, also you must consider how your actions can affect others, like does your action respect others' autonomy, and does your decision is fair and reasonable. Parang ganun, kasi what you made or do, you should follow this rule yourself and expect others to do the same. So we should do actions na naka-align na sa moral principles na meron tayo. So dapat hindi nakakapanghimasok din sa paniniwala ng ibang tao. And we should always think critically about sa moral principles at kung ano yung impact nun sa iba. So, Kant thinks that persons as ends are autonomous. Autonomous persons are able to exercise free and goodwill by legislating the moral law for everyone. Every rational being is able to regard himself as a maker of universal law, not because of an external moral authority, but under the authority of his own reason alone. Being autonomous demands respect for ends or persons have basic moral rights. As stated po dyan, for Kant po kasi, every individuals are valuable and respected sa kung ano o sino sila, and they have free will or free to make their own choices and decisions. They have freedom from external control. Alam niyo po yun yung treat every person as end, not as means. Na ibig sabihin po just treat others with respect and dignity and also value their worth. Na huwag po nating gamitin ang ibang tao para sa sarili nating kagustuhan at para maabot natin kung ano man yung specific purpose or what we aiming to have or achieve. We should not treat the person as our tool. This formulation as I must say is just simply saying po na we or everyone have that basic moral rights para gumawa ng sarili nating mga decisions when it comes to ethical acts. So we should always respect each other's perspectives. Sa madaling salita po, tratuhin natin yung lahat ng individual as free and valuable person who can or capable to make their own choices and decisions. For instance po, just a simple example para po dito, yung may ayaan o nag-aya kayo ng mga barkada mo na gumala sa bayan o sa mall. Dahil syempre simple celebration lang sa mataas na grades. Typical na gala nyong magkakaibigan na syempre abutin ng gabi. Then there's one friend of yours or sa circle of friends nyo na humindi sa gala kasi alam niya rin naman na gagabihin na naman kayo, may curfew siya at ayaw niya din gumala that time to celebrate. Then applying this principle, which is to respect each other's autonomy and decision, syempre you decided na suportahan mo kung ano yung decision ng friend o kaibigan mo na yon, which is he or she declined or humindi siya sa gala kahit na labag din naman sa loob mo kasi gusto mong makasama lahat. Dito na din pwedeng pumasok yung paggawa ng decision natin or action na hindi nakabase sa emotions natin. And by supporting your friend's decision, syempre, it preserves the friendship and it shows respect na din sa individual rights and freedom ng friend mo na yon. So, proceed na po tayo dito sa applying 7-step model Kant's ethical decision making.
Number 1. Gather the fact. Collect relevant information and data about a situation and understand it better. Number 2. Determine the ethical issues. Identify and analyze the moral question or dilemmas involved in a situation to assess what is right or wrong.
Number 3. What principles have a bearing on the case? Categorical imperative. This holds that an action is good or right if it can be universalized. Telling the truth is a universal duty. This recognizes and promotes that persons should be respected because they are persons, and it is a duty to treat others as ends. Besides, it is what comes from goodwill or pure reason. Sanctity of life. This is a moral principle or highest value that must be protected and preserved. Friendship. This moral principle is centered on affection, love, compassion, and trust. One should do everything to prove it. So in number 3, relevant principles, categorical imperative. An action is right only if it could be a rule for everyone. The truth is usually considered a universal duty. This principle also emphasizes respecting all people as individuals and not just using them as tools. Sanctity of life. Human life is precious and should be protected. Friendship. Friendship involves loyalty, love, and trust. Number 4. List the alternatives. Alternative 1. Attempt to convince the axeman that your friend is not in the house. Alternative 2. Call for help from the neighbors to get rid from the axeman. Alternative 3. Call for the police officers to report that a sinister-looking axeman is looking for your friend. Alternative 4. Inform your friend about the axeman and let him decide if he allows you to reveal his location. Alternative 5. Tell the truth that your friend is inside the house. Alternative 6. Tell a lie that your friend is not in the house. So, an alternatives. First alternative, try to convince the axeman. Tell him your friend isn't good. I mean, isn't there. Alternative 2. Get help from neighbors. Ask neighbors to help deal with the axeman. 3. Report the dangerous axeman. 4. Tell your friend about the axeman and let him decide what to do. 5. Tell the axeman your friend is inside. Or 6. Tell the axeman your friend isn't inside.
Fifth step na po tayo, which is the comparing the alternatives with principles. So dito po meron tayong 4 options. First is, so yung first option po natin is A. Attempt to convince the axeman that your friend is not in the house. But if the above is unsuccessful, you can either call for help from either the neighbors or the police officers. So dito sa first option po natin, subukan na i-persuade yung axeman that the friend of yours isn't home. Dito pa lang na option, it violates na agad yung principle ng categorical imperative, which is honesty. And then second option naman po, B, call for help from neighbors or the police officers. But if the above is unsuccessful, inform your friend about the axeman and let him decide if he allows you to reveal his location. So dito naman po, call for help na po dito, no? But dito na option natin, medyo nakaline siya sa categorical imperative, which is seeking for help. At hayaan natin kung ano man yung possible decision ng friend mo na yun, kasi he or she also have the rights and free din siyang mamili kung ano yung dapat na gawing action, kasi buhay niya yung nakasalalay kung sakali. And for the third option po natin, C, tell a lie that your friend is inside the house. But even if the above option is possible, the axeman can still intrude. As your friend sneaks out at the back door, he can still be caught and killed. It would be better to tell the truth. For whatever possible consequences, you will not be responsible. So, telling a lie naman po, which obviously is the opposite of truth. And for the last option, D, tell the truth, your friend is in the house. This is the best option because it follows the categorical imperative. So, this option, kung ano yung gagawin nating action, this follows the categorical imperative, which is yung always tell the truth, which it says po dyan na best option nga po. Kasi we must always remember na Immanuel Kant prioritizes moral principles over consequences. By this fifth step of Kant's model ethical decision making, ito pong comparison na ginawa natin can help you sa pagpili po kung ano ang mas ethical action na naka-align sa principles ni Kant o maging sa principles po na meron tayo.
6. Weight the consequences. This is not applicable because consequences do not matter at all. Even there are good, better, and best consequences, the basis should still and always be the goodwill or intention. Example po dito is yung career change, evaluating the financial stability against job satisfaction. In short po, maghanap ka ng ibang trabaho depende sa sahod na gusto mo. Make a decision. We have to think through Kant's principle of goodwill, categorical imperative, and as ends in themselves. How far should we tell the truth? If you tell the truth as a categorical imperative, then it must be your absolute duty to tell him that he is hiding inside to tell the truth. Is universally good regardless of bad consequences. Telling the truth may cause the death of your friend, but you are not responsible for it. But if you are tell a lie, which by chance will lead the axeman find and kill your friend, then you are responsible even if your friend sneak out at the back door and is killed. Your lying itself, even to a murderer, makes you still responsible. Sabi po rito is ang pagkasabi ng totohanan ay mabuti kahit may masamang resulta. For example po ang pagkasabi ng totoo ay maaaring ikamatay ng kaibigan mo. At ang pagsisinungaling naman po, Ang pagsisinungaling naman po sa mamamatay tao, kapag nahanap at napatay ang kaibigan mo, ikaw ang may pananagutan dito.
So, I might add lang po, no, by applying ng Kant's model of ethical decision making, yung example po na binigay highlights the complexity of applying Kant's principle in real life scenario po, no? Kasi habang or while we respect the importance of truth and dignity, and aside from doing our duty to always tell the truth, we must also consider the moral implications of prioritizing our friend's life and safety, syempre. But as we are talking about categorical imperative, it also shows that we should always tell the truth, as it's universally good regardless of the consequences or even if it leads to challenging outcomes.
Natural rights theorists believe that certain rights are inherent and come from nature and reason. These rights include life, freedom, property, and this pursuit of happiness. Ancient Greek like Aristotle thought these rights were natural, and many modern thinkers, such as Hugo Grotius, Thomas Hobbes, Samuel von Pufendorf, and John Locke, also supported this idea. They argued that these rights are fundamental to all people.
Instrumental rights theorists, consequentialists, and utilitarianists like Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, and Henry Sidgwick of 1907 describe rights as parts of rules instrumental in achieving an optimal distribution of advantages or greatest utility or happiness for a number of people. Pure egalitarian theories also contend that rights lead to the achievement of a more equal distribution of advantages, whereas the prioritarian theorists go beyond by giving extra weight to the interests of the less privileged. In instrumental rights theories, see rights as tools to achieve better outcomes, with consequentialists and utilitarians focusing on maximizing overall happiness, egalitarians aiming for fairer distribution of benefits, and prioritarians prioritizing the needs of the least advantaged.
Dito naman po tayo sa contractual rights theories. These thinkers hold that rights are stipulations guaranteed by a certain valid contract between peoples. They also uphold rights in business contracts. Hobbes, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, 1712 to 1778, and Locke considered rights in social contracts between the government and its citizens as rights surrendered to the authority in exchange for protection of their remaining rights, including their right to social order. So, Thomas Hobbes, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and John Locke is the thinkers who believe o naniniwala sila na rights come from agreements, which is the contracts between people. At yung contract or agreement na sinasabi po dito ay may dalawang klase. First is yung business contracts, which is the rights in commercial agreement governing transactions and exchange between parties. And the second type naman po is the social contracts. Ito naman po yung rights between the government at sa citizens. Naka-emphasize po dito yung terms of governance and yung citizens' obligations. According po sa government, sa social contract po na ito, so citizens surrender some of their rights or natural rights to form a social contract with government. Para maging mas specific po tayo, ito po mga sinurrender ng mga mamamayan na ito na natural rights includes yung right to self-defense, right to personal freedom, right to property, right to self-governance, yung right to unlimited individual power, right to absolute liberty, at yung right to judge and punish others. So, by surrendering those natural rights na meron sila, exchange nun ay protection from harm and stability, social order and governance, at sa rule of law and justice. They both have a consent, and by doing this contract, they benefit each other. At sa madaling pagpapaliwanag lang naman po, ang paniniwala dito po sa contractual right theorist, the rights came from agreement between people, and as government protects rights in exchange for obedience coming from the citizens. And syempre, under na ng gobyerno ang mga mamamayan, so the citizens have responsibilities not to follow order and rules coming from the government. Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804, Kantian and deontology holds that human persons have rights that are autonomous, universal, and treat persons as ends. The only innate right is freedom, insofar as it can coexist with others' freedom in accordance with a universal law. The foundation of Kant's human dignity and human right is duty or reason. So, dito po, Kant disagree with social contract theory or the contractual right theorist believes, which it says nga po na rights come from agreement between the government and citizens. Ang sinasabi din po dyan na the individuals give up some of their rights for protection. Yung minention ko po kanina na mga rights. So, ang main focus po kasi ni Kant is moral principles, and as he says na treat person as ends, not as means. Yung contractual rights na po yan, the government and the citizens treat each other as means, which means na they use each other to benefit themselves and to gain something. Ini-insist lang naman po dito ni Immanuel Kant na everyone has natural rights that can't be taken away, and freedom is one of the rights na hindi pwedeng mawala sa atin. So, he emphasized moral principles and respect for individual dignity. He argues that inherent rights exist beyond agreements, and so Kant argues na rights are not created by agreement, but are natural to human dignity. We must treat each other with respect, not use each other for benefit.
Right theories are right-based ethics. Right theories are ways of thinking about what is right and wrong, based on moral rights. These rights set standard for behavior by prohibiting certain action. There are things you should not do to others, like hurting them, and allowing certain action. There are things that people can do as long as they respect others' rights.
Rights theorists are considered deontological theorists because the rights themselves are duties, reasons that everyone ought to obey regardless of any circumstances or consequence. Natural and human rights are considered deontological. A right defends an interest. To follow and defend a right then is good, but to violate it is bad. Rights are considered also as entitlements or justified claims to certain kinds of positive and negative treatments and non-interference from others. Rights theories are considered deontological because they emphasize that certain rights, like human rights, are moral duties that everyone must respect, regardless of the outcome. The rightness or wrongness of an action isn't judged by its consequences, but by whether it upholds these duties.
Rights can be social conditions of life that can help individuals realize their best. They help develop personalities that may contribute best service to others and the society. No society is entitled to respect or disrespect or compulsorily remove these rights because they are natural or assigned as pillars of society. So, rights empower individual, and it also promotes societal well-being. As it mentioned po dyan na rights are very important po to make or enable the person to reach their full potential. At mahubog din po sila bilang mamamayan, and it can positively contribute sa society natin. And syempre, our society must protect and respect these rights. Example na lang po natin yung woman's right na kailangan they have the same or equal opportunity when it comes po sa trabaho and education. Na dapat walang discrimination when we're talking about gender. And by simply protecting and promoting this right for women, and makakatulong ito sa pag-unlad ng isang tao, and eventually na makakatulong din sa society na meron po tayo. When applied to moral behaviors, right theories state that in order for actions to be good or right, the intention of doing ought to be right and are duties in themselves that promote human rights. It is not the outcome of actions that make them morally justified, but the very moral principles or reasoning behind them. According po dyan sa binasa ko po, ay masasabi po natin na morally right yung action po natin if it's done good intention, aligns with moral principles. And syempre, respect human rights and dignity regardless of its opposite or I must say possible outcome or the result of the action. For example po, ngayong mga recent events sa pagdodonate po natin sa mga nasalanta ng bagyo, like yung kay bagyong Christine, o ano pa po, mga bagyo na sumalanta sa Pilipinas. You've done it with good intentions, o ginawa mo yung pagbibigay ng pagkain, damit at iba pang mga necessities na kailangan nila ng maluwag sa loob mo, at ginawa mo dahil gusto mong makatulong, which means you have a good motive or intentions, and naka-align siya sa moral principles of kindness and respect for human dignity. And it could be a positive outcome yung ginawa nating action, or maybe not have a positive result yung action, kasi baka hindi mo nakita, expired na pala yung pagkain na na-donate mo at sumakit yung tiyan nila. Pero the intention and principle make it morally justified naman kahit hindi ganon kaganda yung outcome actions natin. The United States of America's Bill of Rights and the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights epitomize the kinds of rights which the rights theory adheres and promote. Rights could either be moral or legal. As I said po kanina, na rights are very essential freedoms and protections that everyone deserves, and there are two types of rights. The moral rights na based on ethics and principles po yan. Example po ng moral rights respect, dignity at fairness. The second type naman po is the legal rights. Dito naman po it is protected by laws and government. Example na lang po ng legal rights is yung freedom of speech and equality. And it can be seen po dito nga po sa nabasa po kanina na sa may US Bill of Rights at sa Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Different kinds of rights. Number 1, moral rights. Rights that arise from being a part of a social community which recognizes the inherent worth of a human being to one another. It is brought out from the basic respect and value one gives to another person. Sabi po dito, karapatan daw po ng isang tao or individual na nagpoprotekta sa kanilang pagkatao at integridad. Characteristic of moral rights. Letter A. Moral rights are universal and eternal. These are to be respected in all humans, irrespective of their race, age, status, religion, and generation, is the right to life and freedom, which should be respected anywhere around the world at any time. One of the example of moral right is inalienable. Hindi pwedeng ilipat ang moral na karapatan. They remain with the Creator, regardless of ownership of the work. Letter B. Moral rights are inalienable rights. They are called human rights. They are accorded to human persons, not for any other reason but by just simply being humans. Human rights or karapatang pantao, ito ay kalayaan na nararapat na matamo ng bawat isa, anuman ang kanilang lahi, kasarian, reliyon o katayuan sa buhay. Letter C. Human rights entail freedom to choose how one lives and express oneself, what end one should aspire for, and many other things. Human rights often assure one to freely choose his own means, in order to satisfy his basic needs and dreams. Ang human rights daw po ay isang kalayaan na piliin kung paano i-express ng isang tao ang kanyang sarili. Human rights are also traditionally considered as rights ordained by God to humans in order for them to discover their own source and ultimate end, God Himself. Ang mga moral naman ay isang karapatan na tradisyonal na itinuturing ng mga karapatang itinilaga ng Diyos sa tao upang matulungan ng tao na matuklasan yung sarili nila. Letter E. Moral rights are natural laws that give undeniable or inherent freedom and life freedom. Freedom and life are natural and unchangeable rights. These moral rights are moral principles or norms which guides human behaviors. Any other consideration apart from being moral, human, natural, and reasonable are all considered arbitrary, prejudicial, morally irrelevant, and unequal. Ang mga moral na karapatan daw po ay mga likas na batas na nagbibigay kalayaan at buhay, na itinuturing na likas at hindi nagbabagong mga karapatan. Letter F. Moral rights are moral status, which is having a kind of protective moral shield, so that whosoever go beyond or take advantage of them is a violation. Others are not free to take, to interfere, to limit, and to abuse them as they want. Any behavior that compromises the moral rights are called trespassing of the moral status. Ang mga moral na karapatan daw po ay isang proteksyon na kung sino mang lumabag o mang-abuso sa mga ito ay magkakaroon ng paglabag. Hindi maaaring pakailaman, limitahan o abusuhin ito.
So these are the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It has 30 articles. So hindi ko na po siya masyadong babasahin lahat kasi masyado siyang madami. It has 30 articles. So these moral rights concern human equality. No human beings can ever be denied of these moral rights through any legal or other good reasons. Nevertheless, they may be formalized through some contracts or legalization. Ang moral rights po natin ay mga pangunahing karapatan na meron tayo to ensure human equality and dignity. Ito pong mga moral rights na nandito po, it applies po universally para po ito sa lahat ng individual, anuman po yung background nila, culture, o sa anuman pong pangyayari. So, ito pong inherent or natural na meron tayo ay hindi pwedeng tanggalin o alisin through or sa pamamagitan ng mga legal na pamamaraan o pagpapaliwanag. While moral rights po cannot be created, limited by formalization, but also pwede po silang isama sa batas, sa mga international declaration at sa institutional protection para po malinaw or to make it clarify. And also magbigay ng legal na paraan to raise awareness at mag-promote po ng respect. Ito pong formalization na sinasabi po dito, this does not place moral obligations with the legal ones, but rather mas pinapalakas pa po nito yung kahalagahan ng moral rights. Ultimately, moral rights will remain inherent at universal, na tinitiyak po nito yung pagkakapantay-pantay at dignidad ng mga tao. That human rights cannot be denied or taken away despite po sa mga legal frameworks and agreements.
Not always moral. Obviously, moral and legal rights cannot be separated. Some moral rights are legalized even though not all legal rights are moral. There is an overlap between moral and legal rights whereby legal laws are essentially based on moral rights. Right to life is both legal and moral, so that laws on the such acid violation like murder are both legal and immoral. One may have a legal right to do bad or not a moral right to do it. Some legal laws can be just, thus immoral. With diverse cultures, what is legal may not necessarily be moral. Laws and ethics are not the same. Laws often embody ethical principles or codify ethical principles. They do not always prohibit acts like that are widely condemned as immoral, and do sometimes prohibit those that are perceived as ethical. Example, the use of artificial contraceptives is supported by the RA number 10354, or the Responsible Parenthood in Reproductive Health Act of 2012. Families can choose artificial methods in family planning, but many Filipinos, especially the religious groups, consider the law immoral because it does not only violate the natural law, but also promote premarital sex, self-indulgence, and teenage pregnancy and proliferation of pills, condoms, and pornography. So, laws and morality are related but not identical. Some moral rights become laws, like the right to life, but not all laws are morally good. A person can legally do something that's morally wrong. Laws can be unjust and therefore immoral. Different cultures have different moral standards, meaning what's legal in one place might be considered immoral in another. Laws often reflect ethical principles, but they don't always match up perfectly with everyone's moral views. The example of the Philippine Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act shows this. While the law allows access to contraception, some religious groups oppose it, believing it promotes immoral behavior. This highlights the ongoing tension between legal and moral viewpoints.
Correspondingly, some laws are immoral but not illegal. Some examples are backbiting, gambling, smoking, and drinking alcohol, disobeying your parents, harsh treatment of children, and sex with animals, having no law that prohibits them. Basically, legal or possible through unwritten as a law to ordinary people. Tan, year 2014, has discussed some unfair legal rights or laws. Revised Penal Code of the Philippines, especially to women. Regarding to some laws that immoral but not illegal, like gambling, smoking, and drinking too much alcohol. In some of those example of immoral, walang law o batas na nagsasabi na maaring makulong ang gumagawa ng ganitong immoral na gawain. Article 333 and 334, also known as marital infidelity laws, hold that a wife may be found guilty of adultery if she has sexual relation with a man, not her husband. In contrast, a husband would only be guilty of concubinage by meeting certain specific conditions. The punishment for adultery is heavier than concubinage. Based on the Article 333 po and 334, or also known as marital infidelity laws, ito ay isang krimen tungkol sa pangangaliwa ng mag-asawa na may kaparusahang pagkakabilanggo. Ang Article 33 naman po ay tungkol sa adultery o pangangaliwa ng isang babae habang siya ay kasal pa. At ang Article 334 naman ay tumutukoy sa concubinage na isang uri ng infidelity na mauugnay sa mga lalaki. To make it short po, maaaring ituring na nagkasala ang isang lalaki kung may karelasyon ito na nakatira sa bahay niya habang sila ay kasal pa po. Article 202 holds that prostitution is the act of women who engage in sexual relation and lascivious acts for profit, and outlines the appropriate punishment for such acts according to Philippine Commission on Women. The law implies that prostitutes are criminal who engage in the sex industry for monetary gain. It does not consider that most prostitutes are forced into the sex trade by socioeconomic factors such as poverty, making them victims rather than perpetrators. The law only penalizes prostitutes, not the customer or pimps. Ang Article 202 daw po ay naglalaman ng mga patakaran na naglalayong parusahan ng mga taong gumagawa ng mga sexual na gawain o acts of lasciviousness sa ibang tao nang walang pahintulot o labag sa kanilang kagustuhan. Yun lang po. Article 351 defines premature marriage, in which women are banned from remarrying for 301 days or when pregnant, following legal separation, annulment, or being widow, despite the fact that there have been no conviction for premature marriage. The law is seen as unfair to women as it enforces a period of mourning on them. Article 351 daw po, or premature marriage, ang kasal ng isang tao bago pa man matapos ang tamang proseso o hindi alinsunod sa mga legal na requirements. Sa ilalim ng batas na ito, isang krimen ang pagkakaroon ng kasal kung ang isang tao ay wala sa tamang edad o hindi nasusunod ang legal na kondisyon para sa kasal.
And for the last slide, the conclusion, a complete moral framework with a focus on autonomy, dignity, and universal values is provided by Kantian ethics. Its impact on contemporary ethics, human rights, and moral philosophy is still significant despite criticism of its adaptability and emotional consideration. Kantian ethics and right their theories provide foundation for understanding human rights, emphasizing the value of moral values and autonomy and dignity in advancing justice and human well-being. As rational beings, we have duties, and these theories support and direct our actions and choices to make the best and most appropriate choices. Additionally, with the help of these theories, we are able to determine whether our moral judgment in certain circumstances are ethical in accordance with ethical principles. And that's the end of our discussion, and I hope you've learned something today. Thank you for listening.